recording. Here we go.
Does this just shows up on the Lunar Ladies page? Is that what it?
Yes, it shows up. I can with the webinar and Zoom, you can put it towards any page, your personal page, business page. Yeah, so I go into the Lunar Ladies Lifestyle book page. Okay, yay! So we're live, and it's Saturday. It's a new moon in Libra, 5 degrees. The goddess, right? Our hands. And we have a special, very special guest. Yes, right? We have a very special guest with our new moon. We have two special guests. First one is Isis. She is traveling with the moon and the sun today, coordinating this beautiful full moon. So we have the asteroid mother goddess, Isis. Now, Isis said, I really want you to do a live with my most cherished daughter. Her name is Francine Marie Sheppard. And I said, I will make that happen, Isis. Thank you for letting me know. So on this beautiful day, a new moon, new beginnings, we have our lovely Francine Marie Sheppard here to back again, joining us to answer questions, to share more about, what is the seer's key, why is it important to be a seer, and how we can use our seer's gifts from now through the next 10 years, which will be a really pivotal time for everybody on this planet. And I am going to make sure that you all have the tools and access to the greatest teachers on the planet to help you out. So that's my job. I signed up for it, and I'm going to take it seriously.
And you are taking it seriously.
So that is why we have the lovely Francine Marie Sheppard here. She is one of my most favorite teachers, people, and lovely podmate soul sisters. So thank you, Francine, for coming back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Thanks for inviting me back.
Yes, definitely. So we have some more lovely ladies joining us. Thanks for being here, Nancy, Janice, Kelly, Mika, and Nikki. Nikki Moondog is in the house. And so I'm going to pass it over to you, Francine, if we can, possibly a little ground our time together and maybe set an intention, and then share with would you mind sharing with the ladies about Sassy Fuchsia with gold glitter?
Sure. So one of the things we do in class when we start a class, we always announce what's the color for the class today. And the color is just one of the vocabulary. Color in general is just a vocabulary for a vibration or frequency of energy. So when you set the class vibration, you always talk about color. And so Shannon and I set a color for our talk today, and also the series that we're going to be in together, the Seer's Keys, and that is the sassy. Well, Shannon was the one who contributed the word sassy, and I thought, perfect. And she's got her sassy pink hairband on it. It's fabulous. So the point of doing that is it's about tuning into the vibration and the frequency we're setting. So, of course, there's amusement in there, and there's gold sparkles that for me have to do with transmutation and healing, and the pinkish fuchsia sassiness is, about keeping amusement and fun rolling, while sometimes we get into these intense topics or mysterious places or universal kind of discoveries and shifts. So there's so many things that happen in the class. You can always refer back to what was the original intention and what's the vibration we're setting in our sanctuary. And that's that sassy fuchsia with golden sparkles. Just a reminder. And Shannon was very psychic in putting on that headband, because where do we also set the color of our intention for class is the crown chakra. So that was
an accident.
She's a smarty. I put my gold crown on.
I got someone in my spiritual cheerleading squad that says, "Put it on your head."
Yeah. Well, the crown chakra is called the crown chakra because it's our center of seniority, right? Sovereignty. So for the whole energy anatomy that we're all born with. So That's why it's called the crown chakra, because that's where you go to be senior to whatever's going on. Yeah, so today we wanted to talk about basically your questions. So we invite you, if you're here, to submit via chat any questions you have about anything related to psychic development, just about any topic, because we love questions.
Francine is game today. She's like, bring it on. I love like catching these like fly balls, you know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, developing your sixth chakra and all the other related abilities is still scary for some people. So I want to address some of those concerns and worries and fears, because that's just energy as well that can block your freedom to use your abilities. And what else, Shannon? What else do we want to do?
I thought it was really interesting when Francine and I got together and we were, you know, sharing more and opening up the space, finding the colors, setting it the frequency. And we tuned in and we were like, okay, where are people at? Where are ladies at, like in their lives, their personal lives? And what we started to feel was this sense of overwhelm.
Yeah.
And, you know, oh my God, one more thing to try to manage, try to handle, or try to be more aware of. And so we've got this feeling that, you know, a lot of us are running on empty or pretty close. Or the E is flashing.
Just one cup of fuel left.
Right. And so we wanted to address that feeling, or even that Francine shared just a minute ago, but that feeling of, if I get into that space, what am I going to see? Will it overwhelm me even more? Will it open a doorway to something that maybe got shut down many lifetimes ago? Yeah. So we kind of wanted to, I thought that would be interesting to start there, and then kind of show how developing your skill set at this time really releases the overwhelm and helps you move through that whatever those blocks may be, into a higher state of functioning well in the world. You know?
Absolutely. I think that's very well said, Shannon. When I look at the task of training or the task of going to class or whatever, I think now more than ever as a teacher, I'm noticing more than ever overwhelm on so many fronts. And it's very clear to me that having tools and techniques is the opposite of overwhelming. It's actually teaching you to discern and sort what's for you, what's not for you, what you can legitimately freak out about. and you'll find like 90% is really not yours, and can be released. And some of it's personal stuff, some of it's family stuff, some of it's generational or ancestral or collective consciousness or whatever. There's so many choices you can make to disengage from so many things. And it's really about getting in the body, taking a look and seeing, well, what is it that's really overwhelming me? And is this really mine to carry? And is this really my effort? Is this really should this really be on my to-do list? Or is this agreement with this person, does this need to be updated? Because maybe you're in an agreement where you create in very different ways and you're trying to create the way they create, and you're no longer in agreement to that. You're like, okay, you do your thing over there your way, and I'm going to do it my thing over here my way. So tools and techniques and awareness are a lot about choice, making choices that are more true to you or more aligned with you or more fun for you or more your way of doing things, or more aligned with your truth. So you get to a point where you have a lot of permission to say no to what's not yours. I think, in other words, I think the tools and the techniques and the ability to look at something for yourself and just see what's true for you is really about taking care of a lot of that overwhelmed, that sensitive people just ordinarily feel all the time. Some people call themselves empaths or whatever.
Right.
And
so
they share.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just like feeling into that space of those of us watching and listening, if you know, identify with the overwhelm in your life, like, can you just take a minute and or a second and just tune in to go, what would my life be like if 90% of it was released from me? From, like, how would you function and how would you operate 90% less of what you feel like you're already dragging around or trying to deal with? When you said that, I was like,
I have another, you know, something I need to share. I was meditating earlier, trying to get ready for all of this rambunctious crowd. And all these troublemakers. And I remembered, you know what? I haven't uploaded old information to my Akashic records in a while. And what do I mean by that is you go through these growth periods, you know, and you go through this change and healing and stuff. And sometimes you're like still kind of carrying around the information or the detritus or the lessons even, and they're affecting your body on an energy level, but you're actually done with that lesson, you're done with that growth period, you're done with that energy, and it's time to upload it to your Akashic records. So that can be, you know, something that's part of the energy practices that you learn that help you release and let go of things that, even though they're not bad or you know, they're not you know, somebody else's, that even your own old stuff can weigh you down or cause you to spend a lot of energy trying to solve it again or go through it again when you're really actually done as a spirit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I just have to tell you, about an hour ago, I was walking my dog in the park, and sometimes, you know, she is a sniffer and a squirrel hunter, watcher, stalker. And I like to move. I like to keep walking and keep moving, and she likes to sit and stare. So we have this little bit of a like, you know. So anyway, so she's doing her thing, and I'm like, okay, Shannon, just start, just, you know, stretch, move your body, do something that, you know, works for you. And so I was stretching. I was like, felt like I was trying to, and my awareness said, stretch right out of that old body, stretch right out of that old way of being that doesn't even like apply from either this life, this today, or, you know, but I had that visceral feeling today.
Yeah.
For bringing that up, because I was just like, oh, I just have to stretch. It's like unzipping and taking off this old,
nice,
down version of me, and
yeah.
just moving into a new. So that's,
well, now I'm going to add another little layer for somebody out there. Just telepath me something. I don't know, but just you reminded me. You know, it's important to say if you're you know, doing this energy awareness, spiritual consciousness, all this stuff that we talk about. You know, you make some changes. You know, big issue. Say you healed yourself from a big issue that you've carried a long time, and you kind of were wrapped up in it in a kind of identity way, and it's you know, it's finished. And then you go to Thanksgiving, and your family almost, I mean, bless their hearts, they kind of hand you the picture back. You know, you've gone through all this releasing, and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that issue. You go to Thanksgiving or some other family event, and everybody's so helpful. They're like, hey, this was a huge part of your identity. Here, take it, you know, here, let me give you your picture back, or let me give you this energy back. It looks like you lost it, and this is how we know you, because when you have these pictures, you know. So sometimes it's very important to take stock and realize, oh, it's not that I'm redoing this issue over and over. It's like, I heal it, I release it, I feel great, and then next week, you know, I'm around some of my old friends, and they hand me back all my old stuff. They think I've lost it, and I'm like overwhelmed and invalidated. So these different topics we're discussing about the things that can overwhelm you. There's a lot of stuff that either society or family or friends or whatever, your job, you know, you think you meditate and you run your energy and you clear energy or you heal yourself, and then the next week you're like, hey, wait a minute, I thought I worked on this already.
Yeah.
You know. Well, stuff comes back sometimes and you didn't ask for it back and you didn't like karmically do something wrong. It's just important to keep clearing your energy and not to be invalidated. And this overwhelm sometimes that we feel can also feel really invalidating. Like, I thought I was doing my work, you know, I thought I was conscious, or why am I stuck here again? And, you know, you start to problem solve and start to feel like nothing I'm doing is right, maybe, or not, it's not working or whatever. But really, it's just staying with a constant energy practice of clearing your energy. And just like that's one of the key things about dealing with all these different levels of energy that we don't like, or energy that's making us feel overwhelmed or whatever. It really is key. And that's one of the hardest things to do for people, is to have that regular energy practice. And sometimes it's family that says, no, let me give you back your identity. Sometimes it's something else, you know. But when I say 90%, I'm continuing to show examples of what that 90% can be made up of.
Yeah, I noticed too, like in evolutionary astrology, we look at consensus reality, and then individuating out of consensus, or in the tribe, or in the family unit.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, I know that's my experience this lifetime, I've individuated out, and there's always, they're pulling you back in, like, you're not going to be safe out there, you're not, and it's all on a conscious level. But I feel like a lot of women here, because they're drawn to this work, or they're drawn to us in this way, and they're individuating, they're putting that toe out in a different pool and to go swimming in a new way. But they get pulled back, because there's that sense of, well, I don't want to, if I change too much, will I be so abandoning my family? Will I be so different they won't recognize me, and then we won't have anything to share, you know? So I think there's a lot of fear in that, creating space. That doesn't mean you're actually leaving your family, but you're
boy, that is a whole huge topic. Yes. Whoa.
That's like its whole like journey.
Yeah. I think it's very important to, you know, when you're a seer, to have a sense of humor, and a big sense of forgiveness, because there's so many things that people aren't aware or conscious that they're doing with their energy. And so, you know, yes, maybe your perception will change on some of your relationships, some of your agreements will change, but you can go in and out of those circles, you know, as long as you know who you are, right?
Right, you have your sovereignty.
Yeah, it's when you decide that other people have to change in order for you to be comfortable, that things can get uncomfortable. When you decide, okay, I need to change all these other people in my old tribe, or you know, why? You can only change yourself and walk your own path, you know. So that's a whole other topic, but it's really fascinating.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the other things we're practicing, or that I'm seeing in the charts, as far as like, you know, 2019 moving to 2020, is this really powerful need to be neutral, to practice neutrality, so that it can help you in those moments of like, okay, I'm individuating, or I'm growing, but I don't have to, nobody around me has to change. I could be neutral, to that they're on their own path. They're a soul, they have power, they have gifts, they have skills, and I don't have to judge what I see as good or bad.
Yeah, and people sometimes have the issues with the word neutrality, because they think it's like Switzerland, you know, you just don't care.
You don't care.
Sorry, Switzerland, I didn't mean it. But it's not, I like to call it compassionate acceptance.
Oh, that's much better.
Because neutrality sounds, you know, but neutrality, I mean, I love the frequency of neutrality, because it gives you that ability to just look, you know, and without engaging, you know, just observing, like, instead of reacting and plunging in there to like fix it or solve it, or, you know, you just, wait a minute, let me just compassionately accept whatever is happening in front of me and take a moment to observe and be aware of all these different facets before I react or take action. Form a judgment.
Yeah, from a
or resist.
Right.
Resistance. Oh, resistance is a form of engagement, right? Like
it is.
If you're, yeah, it's like
pushing away. Yeah. Right.
Not much is gonna move now.
Right. It's like a tug of war, right?
Yeah. Well, it's more like one's pushing against the other, you know, and it's like, well, it's an engagement. Now this is the energy. No movement really, just
Yes, yes, exactly. And it seems like with the old world falling, or state of transformation, like the old 3D model, that's is designed to transform at this time. And then the 5D model is creation. And then how we get there is the bridge is the compassionate acceptance, the non-reactive space, the non-judgment space. So we're here now, and then we can own our space by clearing it out, right? And so I feel like, Francine, you're a bridge. Your way.
Well, I'm like the guide who's a little bit ahead with the flashlight.
You got the big flashlight.
And then if you say, look, I can't see anything, or I'm stuck, then I take the flashlight and swing around, go, I think of myself as a guide. Yeah, sure, you could say teacher. I'm a teacher, but my job in the classroom is to guide, so that it's not about me. I'm kind of pulling my personality back and trying to create experiences for people to have their own truth come forward, or their own experience of whatever's happening, rather than, and now this is what's happening, and let me tell you what's happening, and let me tell you what you should be seeing, and this is what I see. And,
right, so it's not that kind of class.
We're trying to create conditions where you have an experience that teaches you something, and you have an experience with downloading your own information and accessing your own information, and using your own skills. So I'm not going to tell you what to see. I'm going to kind of maybe help you about how to use the ability, the technical aspects, and maybe where to look a little bit, and things like that. Right. Like some people, they're sitting there trying to read, and like say this is what they're trying to read, right? And they're like this. I can't see anything.
Totally.
Yeah, like, where is it? I can't see. Everything's black. So you gotta move it out. You gotta put your screen. Well, I don't know if you can see that. Put your screen out there a bit, and and other people are sometimes staring through their eyeballs. They're like, I'm trying, it's like, these are not for clairvoyance.
Right, these are just
your eyeballs
are around.
No, you gotta look, you have to be back in the center of your head, back there, and you have to look through the forehead, or receive through the forehead. And so there's like lots of little technical things that a teacher can help you with, that just takes away a lot of the effort.
Right, like
hopefully all the effort.
Francine, can you talk about chakras? I was hearing that in my head. Like, somebody wants to know about chakras. Like, are we aligning our chakras? Is that how we run our energy?
Are they really out of alignment? I'm not, I'm not sold. So, I mean, sure, sometimes it can be kind of out of alignment. Sure, but it's still working. Of course, they're going to be healthier and shinier and brighter when you have your energy practice going. You're going to be accessing some of the wonderful information and talents that are in your chakras. So, like the information about how to be neutral, is in your sixth chakra. So each of your chakras has wisdom and information and learning things you've known before, all accessible. So when you start your energy practice and your chakras are releasing a lot more because you're doing your clearing and all that, then you start to access those abilities naturally, or bits of information come up. And yeah.
Right, because probably we walk around with a lot of them either shut down, blocked in some way. So as we start clearing our space, then what's naturally sits there can then be accessed.
Yeah, exactly. It's all there. It's all your equipment is there. I swear to God. I've never met somebody without a sixth chakra in my life.
Right. That would be. Can you talk about? So you had mentioned earlier, like uploading to our Akashic records, like when we're done with a lesson or things like that, so that we can clear our space. Can you talk? I know lots of ladies here are fascinated by the topic of Akashic records.
Right. So we go on journeys to our Akashic records. I call it Akashic. You call it Akashic. Tomato. But we do go on journeys, and we meet our Akashic records keeper, which is one of our spirit guide. You know, spirit guides are a very loose term for a being that we have an agreement with that's helping us on some level. So we have an Akashic record keeper, and we go meet them, and we check out our own personal library in the Hall of Records. So yeah, you've lived many lifetimes, some of them on this planet, some of them on other planets. And in your personal records or library are all your experiences. And so, you know, you could consciously go up there and pull out your books on psychic development, you know.
The Akashic library.
Yeah, so yeah, you just get more comfortable with that. I actually have never met anybody who doesn't have an Akashic records either, you know, or their own information. I've never met anyone who goes, I went up there and it's empty. No, there's nothing there. So that's a fun aspect. Yeah, that's a fun aspect of learning to be more confident and certain that that is really happening, you know.
Right.
Yeah, there are techniques of uploading. It's so easy with this computer language now, you know, I'm uploading, downloading.
Right.
we actually access our Akashic records pretty naturally, you know. You go looking for information. Like sometimes when you see people like me, we're like, well, let me see, you know, and then I'm like, well, maybe I'm looking up there. You know, it's really not that unusual or difficult, or, you know, it's just normal. So consider all the things you think you can't do or are difficult to do or you don't have access to. Think of that. It's more like you're always reading, you're always being intuitive, you're always doing all kinds of interesting things with your energy anatomy and your skills and your talents and everything. But there's like an illusionary veil between, or block between you doing them and you knowing that you're doing them. So it feels like, yeah, that part of me out there is doing that stuff, but I have no knowledge of it in here. So psychic development or anything like that is about becoming more conscious of what you're already doing. Rather than I have to build it from scratch.
Right.
You know,
like in the,
I have to chip away at it. Oh God.
Hard, and it's hard, you know, and I have to work long hours to.
I have to build my second chakra from scratch, and then the crown, you know.
Right. That's kind of a masculine approach, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah. We've been told it's like only special people, only gifted people. You know, it's more like if you're passionate and curious and you're already headed that way, you know, why not?
Right, exactly, because that's our innate abilities as co-creator divine children of the universe. Basically, that's how we're put together.
That's how we're wired, and we're all evolving that way anyway. We're coming back to it, you know. You're going to be a seer anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say
it's either next week or 10 years from now, you know. is either going to be difficult or it's going to be easy, or, you know, which way do you want to do it? Because this is the way we're coming back, we're revolving, we're waking up that junk DNA, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call the process. It's all coming back, and it's now.
Yeah.
And either you find a context or a modality that you like and enjoy and it works for you, or you do it on your own, and I'm sorry, you're going to struggle a little more, just like I did when I was, and all of us have, when I was long before my training. You know, I really struggled. Like, how do I, you know, it's like being two different people.
Right.
The normal, nice Francine, and then the weirdo. No, I'm just kidding.
Scorpio friend.
Who's like, what are these experiences about? You know, am I clairvoyant? I don't know. This is weird. And how do I make sense of it? You know, how do you find your place?
How do you find your place? I think that's really interesting, because you know, what the planets, how they're aligning up, what other, you know, kind of clairvoyant people out in the world are sharing, is that the veil is so thin that it is disappearing. And
it is disappearing.
It's totally disappearing. And that's a good thing, right? Because we want to be engaging with the field, making agreements with our reality, that from a creator space, rather than like, oh my God, what's that? And running away, fear, scared, because you're still living this human existence that you're not connected. Right. So I want people, as the veil like goes, whoop, to know what to do.
Right.
To know that it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're already, you know, the physical body and an energy body, and totally, there's no separation, right? Only in your thinking do you think my energy body is a concept, or it's, well, I know I have chakras, but, you know, they're not separate. Your chakras are not separate from you. So why would the rest of spirit be separate and behind a veil?
Yes.
The veil is, I don't know, you know, we could talk about why it's there, or why, whatever, who cares? It's all over. No, I'm kidding.
It's way of doing things.
Yeah. Spirit is right there. Okay, so that reminds me, somebody had some questions about, I don't want to get too, what were the questions that we had written down?
My
remote viewing and connecting
remote viewing, and then seeing an unidentified person who's not incarnated in a physical body.
Okay, so I think it was Nikki who had the question about remote viewing.
Yeah, like, what is it?
Yeah, well, I first read about it I read a book in, I think it was 1998. There was this guy who came out with Psychic Warrior, I think is the book. And he worked for the military.
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they had this whole program, and they got into it because the Russians were into it. So this is a whole other type, another modality of psychic observation, or whatever you want to call it. But so if that's what you want to develop. It's about it's kind of like sending your astral body out to observe, you know, whatever what they call your target. They still use the word target sometimes. So it's a way of gathering information, and there's different schools of remote viewing. I've tried it. I had a colleague who's very into it, and in fact, if you're attracted to remote viewing, you could check her out. Her name is Deborah Katz, Katz. She and I went to the first year of clairvoyant training together, so I've known her a long time, and she's really gotten into remote viewing, and she knows a lot of it's a lot of men who are gathering data in very scientific ways, you know, so there's a rigorous protocol, there's conferences all about it. It's not something I practice at all. It's not something I get into at all. It's just think of it as a different modality, and
almost seems like spying to me.
Well, in my experience, I haven't had much exposure to it in the last 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. But in my experience, they don't teach. Oh, Lanny Daly said, okay, yeah. It does feel like, in my experience, they don't teach like psychic manners, or they didn't
Yeah,
used to,
that's what I was
you
feeling.
know? So it's like, if you're sensitive and somebody's remote viewing you, it's like, oh, that doesn't feel too good. They're coming right into my space, you know?
Like,
Hmm,
excuse
you know?
me.
So, but it is one way people are proving that, you know, these abilities exist. And there was even a funny movie with, what's that guy? George Clooney. And
Oh, the goats.
yes, that
You
was
managed different
hysterical.
goats or something. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was like all of like the military training.
Right. So they're saying that they don't do that anymore, but that's,
Nah.
of course they do. Of course there's military programs, because it works. It does work. It does work. If you follow all the protocol, you can gather information that way.
Yes, yes. And so in the ways that you're guiding us, it's so what is like the
The
like
difference?
like manners?
What-
So
What's
like
that?
when instead of like them not really teaching psychic manners
Oh,
in that way.
right. So what do I mean by manners? Like, you don't read people unless you ask permission, for example.
Yes,
That's pretty basic,
there
you
you
know.
go.
So like, you have to ask permission. You can't just, read somebody's aura and look at all their stuff, and they have to say, yes, I would like to be read, so that's the first thing,
The permission.
right? And you don't have to go into anyone's space to read them. You can read them on your screen. You use a template, or the different symbols and templates and maps you can use and techniques you can use, but you're reading the person on your screen, your energy screen that you create. And everybody has a screen anyway. Whenever you're talking to people and you see them like constantly looking in one place, they're looking at their screen, and you usually have more than one. I mean, there's several screens. But anyway, so you look at energy on your screen, you don't go into the other person's aura to read. So that's a basic psychic manners 101. People think, oh, because they're in that effort mode, I've got to throw myself over there. No, that's not necessary. You're actually that's also kind of male programming, to think you have to project yourself out, or like go over there and control what's happening over there. The more female way of reading is to receive. To ask for information, and then to allow it to come to you and receive it, instead of going out and searching. And so that's one of the shifts that happens in training too, and in getting out of effort, is allowing yourself to receive information, to call it in, rather than I've got to go hunt it down. I've got to go searching, and no. So those are two basic psychic manners elements. Does that feel more?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, that totally answers my question, because
You can stay in your own space and read. Yeah.
then if
Mhm.
you get like a no, I don't wish to be read, either whether it's a verbal no or an energy no, then you're like, okay, thank you.
Because there's always something else to read. You don't have to read that thing or that person.
Right. So in our 8-week sanctuary training, so we're learning to read other people. Is that right?
Yeah, and other things, and yeah.
That's
There's,
awesome.
I mean, there's infinite things to read and look at. So it'll be a little bit guided to people's interests. But I think if you can read a person, an aura, then you can just about read anything.
And so when you say read a person's aura, is it like, because you know how when like you might be watching someone talk and you can see the outline, like kind of the energy outline, is that the aura?
That's probably one of the layers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I like to think that, you as an energy come through your body, manifesting through your chakras, and each chakra creates one layer of your aura. So we start out with a basic aura reading, where you're reading the 7 layers of the aura. And they're not always like perfectly tidy, perfectly equidistant, like massive bun over here and then a thin layer over there, so yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things going on in the aura. So yeah, 7
Is it
layers. We
the aura?
start with the basic template of 7 layers of the
Oh,
aura and the 7 chakras. We don't, when you're in the basics, foundationals, you don't need more than that.
yeah, that's plenty.
No, I must read the 12th chakra. Well, good luck, because that one's very abstract.
So say like if you're a mom and say one of your children is not feeling well or something, or there's something going on with them, would you be able to read like their aura to kind of get a sense of maybe what's they need or what's happening to them, or how to help them?
Yes. No problem. You just stick with the basic tools and techniques. Don't make it too complicated. It's like, look at one thing at a time, and communicating with that spirit. Often the spirit of the child can give you a lot of information that the child in the body cannot articulate.
Right.
They don't have the words, but they can show you pictures. The spirit can show you pictures.
Yes, I think it's really important for moms and dads, because especially, I go back and I'm like, gosh, I don't remember it being like this when I was a teenager, where it just seems like there's so much to deal with. And I feel like children today don't have outlets to run their energy, whether because either they're looking at their phone or, they're socially media engineered and all this stuff. So I would love that to be like a wonderful gift for moms and dads to help their kids, either from recognize them as a spirit, communicating, finding their pictures, helping them either get a teacher, get a friend, get a activity or a hobby or something that helps them in their experience on the planet.
Yeah, and then engaging their spirit in co-creative ways where the kids might not have the vocabulary that the spirit has, but the spirit is a full-grown spirit. It's like a wise being. It's not a little kid.
Not a 12-year-old.
So it has its Akashic records. It has its information. It's a full-grown creative being. So on a certain level, you can be co-creating with that being, spirit to spirit.
And
yeah,
I think that's so beautiful. What a new way to relate to your child or a family member or a spouse.
Especially with children who, it's not that long ago for them. They come in like, pretty tuned in, and then over time they get shut down. So when they're little, it's not that long ago, or maybe it's still very much present. That you have all those kids who, remember past lives and stuff. It's fresh for them. They haven't shut down yet. Yeah.
Right. I also know that
click, everything. Right. Turn off that telekinesis. No.
Your imaginary friend is not real. And they're like, what? I hang out with them all the time. Like, we have fun. I know some women are interested in having a child, and it's, they might sit in a space of like, we're trying, it's not happening. Is there a way for them?
Yes, I have helped some people get pregnant.
Well, can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know there's some ladies who are
why not contact, most of us women, okay, say 100%, are constantly, even if we're in menopause sometimes, where there are what we call baby beings. That's what the old name for it is. Like, they're not baby spirits. They're spirits who want to be babies. And they can be very, persistent. Like, we made this agreement, come on, get on it, and they can be running their agenda through us. And not all of them are the baby you want to have.
Right.
So yeah, you can start to explore that as a future parent, like, okay, what if I spoke or communicated with the beings that are around me that want to be my baby, and I reviewed my agreement with each one and said, okay, you're next, you're the one I want next, and what do we need to do to make this happen? You
Right.
know, so you create a conscious agreement with that being, and they can help you, you know, create the optimum conditions for getting pregnant.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
they
There's
can help
really
you. You know, other ones can be a real pain in the neck, and you know, then you need to go see a healer and say, "Help me end this agreement." You know, so
yeah.
I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying, being conscious about the process of your agreement with your future child can be very a lovely experience and helpful. Yeah. So, and it doesn't have to be complex. You know, you just have to. And if you don't want to get any training, or you never want to get a healer's help or a psychic's help, but yet you want to try this yourself, you know, keep it as simple as possible, as, you know, creating start with your imagination, creating an imaginary conversation, with, you know, decide, okay, there's 5 roses in front of me, and each of those roses symbolizes one of the beings I have an agreement with to have as a child. And, you know, you start to communicate with one at a time, and let it be really simple and imaginary at first, and see where you go. But I definitely recommend doing it with the support of a clairvoyant or a psychic or a healer or somebody, because one of the things that comes up for everyone who's developing their abilities, they're like, is this real? Am I crazy? You know, those pictures, and that's old programmings of only crazy people are psychic, or maybe you had a past life where, you know, you ended up in the insane asylum because you know, you could see the truth and you were too loud about it. So
Right.
put her away, you know. So you might have some leftover trauma from that, or many other possible things in the last few thousand years, as we've had for example, 800 years of inquisitions.
Right.
Those were fun times. You know, so those pictures can come up and then totally invalidate your experience. You know, you're just like scared, or am I crazy? Was that real? You know, so why not do it with a friend at least? You know.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
why
it's an exploration for sure, worth having.
yes, definitely. And I feel like with our Lunar Ladies Seers Circle Club, like having,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be 10 of us, including me. Is that right? That's
Hmm?
the picture is up to 10 people.
10, yeah.
So it'd be
10.
me plus 9 other ladies.
Yes, correct. Sorry, I was reading the message below.
Oh, sorry. And
no, I suddenly have like 1,000 baby beans around.
she said hello.
Tell her it's me.
That was
Shannon. Tell Shannon it's not too late.
oh my god! Because when you said like even in menopause, I was like, oh what? You know, because even this morning, because I'm in that stage of the trend. Yes, and this, so I haven't had my cycle since January.
Ah.
This morning on a new moon, I was like, what's that? When you said, I'm like,
oh. Well, baby beans, you know, they're going to apply pressure to any woman who can get the job done. So like, you could be a grandmother and you're supposed to negotiate, you know, the contract with the granddaughter and get it done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they don't care if you have a uterus or not. You're a woman. You're all about, you know, family information, and you're going to have baby. And they go around men as well. Like, you know, the twinkle in somebody's eye is really a baby being. Yeah.
So if you're like, see this really handsome man and his eyes are twinkling, that's a baby being poking out.
Could be. They put on the charm offensive pretty strong. These are capable spirits. You were once a baby being. How do you think you got here? Harassment, probably, of your mother.
Probably. So you know how
No, come on, mother, no.
You know how that saying, like, oh, you were just a twinkle in your father's eye, like,
that's
you weren't.
What I mean. Yeah.
That was what it was.
Sometimes a baby being can bring two people together. Yes. Then they have the child and they're like, why did we want to be together? Because you're done. You're done. That was the only purpose for getting together.
Wow.
Sometimes it's that story. Yeah.
And that can help a lot of women who maybe have had this experience, but they have all this programming that says it has to be a white picket fence and it has to be forever and it has to be all this stuff. But yet possibly you three as souls had this agreement that this was how it was to work out, whether the child wanted the gene structure of the father or something.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah.
And these are the things we can learn.
Yeah, divorce is not necessarily a bad thing. It just means, it could mean you're just done. You're done with the agreement. You've both grown in, different ways.
Right.
And you kept your promise, you fulfilled your agreement, and now you're going in a different direction, But we're so programmed that it's supposed to be, that whole programming about marriage is really about productivity. But that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other topic.
How to be a good producer for society.
Right.
How to be a good factory worker and keep breeding and keep producing taxpayers.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Members of a church, right? We have a question here from Nancy.
Great.
She asks, what about if we have a knowing that we are psychic, but so far it hasn't manifested yet for us? Is this course going to give us the confidence to believe in ourselves?
Of course. That's what it's all about. Making it real for you and giving you that certainty. You're not crazy. You're not incapable. It is your time. So yeah, it's all about building that certainty. And I had an old teacher who said, the difference, this is him speaking, the difference between you and me is certainty. And how do you get certainty? Experience. There's no other way. Experience. And so the class is about creating experiences. And we've all been there when we think, I don't think I know how to do this. And then you go through some experiences and you're like, oh, I do know how to do this. It's no different.
Right.
Yeah. Knowing is a very powerful skill. Yeah. And you can navigate your whole life through knowing,
That is so beautiful, Francine, because that's the mantra of the sign of Aquarius. I know. And look at you. And we're moving into the age of Aquarius. And that is the age of I know. And Francine just put the stamp of the creator on this that says going into your life from a place of knowing is really why we probably came to Earth School.
That's the crown.
And Aquarius rules the crown chakra.
There you go. It all comes together.
So I was thinking,
certainty, knowing, sovereignty, seniority, it's all up here.
Like our queen's crown. This is how we get coronated. And what's so beautiful about this new beginning that starts today in about 30 minutes is it's a Venus-ruled cycle, which is Venus is a queen. Isis shows up and says, well, let's be this kind of queen. Let's be like the Isis version of Venus as queen, primordial divine mother queen vibration.
Yeah, and Isis never said you have to be neutral.
You
know what I'm saying? I'm just bringing that in. She's the compassionate mother, but the queen.
But she's
right?
Like
the queen.
The queen.
Sorry to interrupt, but I'm saying you can be both. You can be the queen, and kind of you know what you know, and it's like this is how it is. But you can also have the compassionate heart, and I think that's what we're moving into. It's sovereignty and heart. And so you're creating from the crown and the heart space.
And those together.
Yeah. That's also, as women go in through that menopause or those kinds of changes, you're gaining power from creating through your heart and your crown chakra and observing through your sixth, which is a shift from this, put the value of women being about what they can create in their uterus or through their second or through their relationship space or whatever. So we're all going through this shift of crown and heart space creation versus it's all about the body and what we create through the body. And the
Right,
second.
because that patriarchal programming that we've now like thinking it's the norm has put a value and a price tag on women as like, are you married? Are you a mother? If you're not those, what are you then? Right? Do you have any value other than
You better be productive, at least in something.
reproductive? So we're like, hold up, because Isis is here and she's like, hey, we're going to be starting to do things a whole new way, possibly an old ancient way, bringing them into modern times. So I just think it's so really beautiful and powerful that it's a 5-degree new moon, which is, I like to go, you know, the Venus path, and Venus rules Libra, but the Venus path around the Earth creates a 5-pointed star. And they call it the 5.
That is pretty.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's a beautiful pattern. I've seen
Isn't
that.
that a beautiful pattern? I'm sure you could silk screen that in the most amazing.
I see a t-shirt coming.
Oh, I see your t-shirt.
We just co-created a t-shirt. Ding!
5 Petals of Venus t-shirt. Who wants a t-shirt?
Yeah. The other thing about this, the crown that you know, we talked about it briefly on Monday. We talked about I wrote the phrase down because it was funny. We said, I think you said it though, or was it me? I don't know. Will your bullshit radar be polished and powerful enough for 2020, for the onslaught of 2020?
I think that was our collaborative, like you.
I think so. Because where is your bullshit radar? It's in your crown.
It's
that
in your
knowing.
crown. You're like,
Yeah.
I know better. I know.
Yeah, the person who said something about, you know, knowing, your knowing is in your crown. And basically, what do you know? You know, your bullshit radar.
Yeah, your bullshit
radar.
radar.
Yes, that's true. No, that's BS. This is for me. No, you know, you don't have to like read the whole thing. When you know, you know. So,
I mean, we can practice that like in the current political arena, so you can go, that's a lie. Oh, they're kind of
ding, 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 lie, lie. Ding, 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 ding.
And then you can help out your friends because you've got this.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think of it as like I kind of see it as a radar that kind of goes like that motion like, in above my crown. Yeah. Beep, beep, beep. It's always on. It's always on, like, you know.
Like the submarine radars where they're like scanning. And
yeah, there you go.
Beep, beep, beep.
And it's such a useful tool, and I'm sure everybody who feels they have that sense of knowing, it has saved them from so many wrong turns, and you know, you just automatically walk the other way, you know.
Yeah, where you're like, I think I'm just gonna hang out at home for a bit before I start driving to that wherever I'm supposed to go, and then you realize there's a, you know, traffic jam on the highway. And
right. Yeah.
Go there.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes. Tamara has a question. She says, do we have an astral buddy that would work with us? I'm just curious.
Do we have an astral buddy?
Like an astral friend, an astral buddy that would work with us for the training. Is that right, Tamara? During the training? That was her question.
Yeah, during
an astral buddy that would work with us. Probably like
during during the training. I'm not sure what you mean by astral buddy, but we are going to talk to spirit guides, you know, so they're definitely they frequent the astral layers. levels, yeah. So getting to know your spirit guides, you know, again, spirit guides is a general term, can be really fun, you know, and there's different kinds, like there's the healing master type where they're really into all levels of energy healing. So you can connect with them and learn to give healings to other people very easily, or just give yourself a healing through your hands. There's a psychic surgeon. There's just all kinds of general spirit guides that show up, you know. So for me as a teacher in the classroom, I like to work with some big helpers, sure.
I bet you do.
Yeah. Yeah, they volunteer, you know. They come up, they like, I want to play or I want to help, you know.
Look at this
so.
juicy circle of ladies. I want to come in.
Yeah. So yeah, like who do I work with? I like to work with Mary Magdalene. She's one of my big teachers.
I love her.
Yes. And and Mother Mary too. And they all show up at one point or another. And sometimes it's a being you've just never heard of, you know. And being psychic and having that crown chakra seniority, you kind of have to read a little bit and communicate with them a little bit and say, well, are you going to agree to this list of 5 rules? You know, kind of a variation of psychic manners and rules that I teach. And if they say yes, you're like, okay, I'll work with you, you know. So you might want to consider it like you read their resume a little bit. You get if they're gonna let you be in charge, you know, because you have the body, so you're kind of in charge of whatever happens. So all kinds of interesting beings can show up, but I'm pretty strict about who gets in the classroom.
Yeah. So Francine's BS radar is really sharp. Very.
It's true.
You're in good hands.
I am a Scorpio.
Totally. I love your Scorpio-ness. And I was going to say, like, check your chart. If you have a lot of water in your chart, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, developing your psychic gifts is going to help you in your life so much because you're already in alignment with that energy, being water, as well as if you have like Aquarius energy, like Aquarius rising, moon, North Node, that's also another wonderful space to open the door to because you're already wired for the knowingness.
You're already doing it.
Yeah, you're already doing it. So you might as well be conscious you're doing it.
Might as well enjoy it more.
Yeah, totally. Enjoy it more and go, oh, I'm going to fine-tune the way I do this. And whoa, it just really...
I'm gonna be more deliberate or more conscious or more in charge. You know, like, yes. I'm going to read when I want to read, and I want to turn it off. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to look at what I want to look at. I'm going to receive messages that are in alignment with me. I'm not going to just take whatever comes along.
Exactly.
Like, not all beings are fun.
Yeah, some of them are a pain in the rear end.
That's right. It's like family. Not all your family members are fun. No.
Right.
So you got to be selective who you work with, you know, and a lot of it is giving yourself permission, you know, removing those controls that say, oh, I don't know, if it's spirit, then it must be true, you know, or if it's spirit, it must be good, or if it's white energy, it must be, you know, good energy. How many kinds of white are there? How many on the spectrum of colors? How many vibrations of white are there? How many, you know? So yes. Not everything in spirit is here for fun.
Right. Some of them come in, pop in, and do a lot.
But they have an agenda. They're not done with their earth karma, and they got stuff they want to do through you.
Yeah, and they might mess it up for a little while, and then you're stuck with the broom trying to clean up the broken glass. You're like, sorry, that wasn't me.
Was that a past life flashback?
Yeah, totally.
Spirit shoves the dishes off the shelf, and little Shannon gets punished.
Yeah, the inner cat came in and was like pushing like mom's Hummel off the table, and then the little Shannon played.
What other questions do we have? I hope we answered that one. Astral buddies. You can have as many astral buddies as you want, but be selective.
Yes.
Read their resume first. Yes, we do have spirit guide help in the class, and yes, they are screened, and we learn how to exchange communication to them about, will you follow these 5 rules? Yes. Okay, we can work together.
Line, right?
Yes.
So yeah, tomorrow I was saying that's my issue, turning it down but not off when needed. Had a traveler once, no bueno.
Didn't quite understand. You were saying
I think she said like kind of being able to interview these spirits that want to come in and work, because I know tomorrow does a lot of beautiful psychic readings
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
oracle with working with cards.
Nice.
Yeah, she's got wonderful gifts. Libra sun. So this is new moon for you, Tamara, in your 12th house, which is the psychic house. Scorpio rising, emerging into the seer. So Tamara, this would be actually a really fun experience for you to like fine tune your gifts. Because she said that's my issue. Turning down maybe like people or spirits coming through when needed, but afraid. I don't want to turn it off, but how do I turn it down? And she said that she had a hitchhiker type spirit that was not ready to get out of her car. So she's like,
right. So that's an issue of seniority, right? Who's the boss in this relationship? And we've been trained or taught or, over centuries that spirit is senior or spirit knows better or spirit is wiser or spirit is stronger. Like, oh, I'm only this big and the spirit is this big. But really, if you really look at how big you are, because it takes a lot of capability to get here and get a body. To have a body takes a lot of capability. And if you really start to learn your own history, your own knowledge, and then also look at your own energy, you see, oh, I am a powerful being. And you start to take back your seniority from the beings that would have you believe that they're stronger than you or more powerful or more wise or whatever. I mean, whatever it is that they're convincing you.
right.
That they just know more and they're stronger. I mean,
and you're like, hello, I got the body, therefore I'm the one in charge, right?
Yeah, if you don't like the rules, there's plenty more when there's billions of beings you can work with.
Right.
So they don't like the rules and they don't want to cooperate, just fire them.
Yeah.
And then if they don't get, they don't stay fired, then there's other things, there are tools and techniques, energy techniques to get rid of them.
Yes, and that would be good for us to know. So Lonnie had one more question, and then I'd love to tell people how they can sign up, what's in the class, what they can expect. If you have a few more minutes, Francine.
Of course.
So Lonnie asks, would creating an astro buddy, I guess kind of like that being to work with, in your imagination be the same thing as having one actually?
Okay. Your imagination is like the flip side of your clairvoyance. When students first start reading and they say, I can't see anything, I don't know, I can't do it, I'll say, okay, well, now you're just going to start making it up. Let's start by making something up. And they're like, that's just not I can't do that, but it's happened so many times where a student is reading a live person, and a volunteer, or somebody I'm having them read through just the name on the paper, that's a whole other thing. But they will just start making up a story just out of the blue. And, later come to find out that the thing they imagine is related to something in that person's space or a history, characteristics, or whatever. So oftentimes when we're just imagining stuff, we're actually starting to read. Yeah, we're collecting information. And we think, oh, I just made that up. But really, we made it up from something that we were gathering. Yeah. So I would say making up an astral buddy is likely to, it could bring you a real spirit guide, so I'm not sure how to answer the question, because I wouldn't recommend just imagining a spiritual buddy. I would say go ahead and call for one if you feel confident about that, but I think it's easier to do in class. I think it's better to have a guide or a teacher or something, or buddy, because again, you're going to be in that space of is this real? Is this really happening? I'm afraid of what I'm going to attract. I'm
Right.
afraid that, there's just so many things that can come up. So yes, you can start with just making up your astral buddy, but why do it the hard way? Why do it that kind of unsure way? Better to do it in a circle or a class or some kind of situation where there's some a guide and some rules and somebody to help you with confidence and certainty. And that's not to say come to class. That's just to say try to find the easiest way to do these things.
Right.
In other words, yeah, to build your confidence, try the easier way first.
And I think Lonnie's she's very creative, and she's all, thank you. She's like, using my imagination is just so fun.
Yeah. Well, it's the best way to start reading. But
yeah.
What you need is a space where you can get feedback, and be sure about that feedback. Whereas if you're just doing it by yourself, you're like, again, in that conversation in your head, did that really happen? Is this real? How much did I imagine it? How much was the real thing? Blah, 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 blah. Your mind is always ready to dismiss your experience.
Right, and then having like an actual being or guide that you're working with, you can learn a lot. You can have help with growth and opportunities to evolve and things like that. So it's like having fun and growing at the same time. So the last question, Nikki Moondog says, what are the 5 rules? What? We get the power of the cackle in this class. I just have to let you know, this journey, we're going to get the power of the cackle.
Well, I'm not sure if I should say all that. My 5 rules. Let me kind of vaguely refer to them. The first thing is that you're in charge of the relationship. You're senior, you're in charge. They have to do what you say. So already that sets up some problems with some people because they don't think they can do that.
Right, to be the boss.
Yeah, they have to agree that yes, you are the boss. You have to get a positive yes. Like that's part of the contract. They're not allowed to come in to your aura. It's another rule. They're not allowed to come into your aura. They have to land, and I'll get more into that in class, but they have to land where you tell them, in a specific spot behind you. And a lot of the ways we work with healing masters, for example, is we have them connect only to our hand chakras when we do healings. So they're only allowed to connect in one place. It's only supposed to be a certain distance from your aura. What else is there? Is that 5? There's so many beans right here right now.
Really? They're like,
thanks, Nikki. There's like gosh, you got to get people in this class because we want to come and play.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about healing masters earlier, and I'm like, okay, wait, I haven't started the class yet. They're like lining up.
So a lot of healing masters are interested in our particular circle.
Yeah, they want to work with people.
Interesting.
Yeah, so what did I say? Only connect through the hand chakras, 10 feet behind, land in a certain spot, never come into the aura, and agree that you're in charge and you're the boss. Like, for example, when you say disconnect now, they better disconnect now, or else they're fired. Right. I'm just laying out some rules right now, you guys. Yeah, I have to interview the healing masters before that class. That's one of the things I have to do as a teacher. I have to go into meditation and go, okay, who's showing up for Shannon? No, yeah, no. You're trouble. No. Yes, you're nice. I like you. I'm just kidding, but it's kind of like that.
Yeah. So you would do that for each one of us?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Before class, because I like a class that runs smoothly. I don't like chaos.
Yeah.
Not that that's ever happened, but I don't need 100 healing masters in the class.
Right, right. This is a small, intimate circle.
Yeah, and very often, when we do the exercise where people, go into a trance and we go off to the healing master temple and we meet our healing master, it is the same one that I interviewed. But I have to watch. You have to watch in class because sometimes it's a different one and I have to check them out,
Right, right.
But that's my job.
That's your right. That's your job. So
I'm not saying that I'm like very, very strict, with my ruler or anything, but it's my job to keep the class a sanctuary, right?
yes,
So
yes, and we set the intention for our particular group of Lunar Ladies Seers to have to ground into that space that's be our experience. Or so, can you give us a brief overview of what we will receive in the Lunar Ladies Seers Circle 8-week training?
The 8-week training? Okay. Well, we're going to meet once a week, hopefully. So we've got those 8 classes where we're getting training in the tools and the techniques and practicing reading. Reading being learning to read an aura on a basic level, open up that 6th chakra, be in the center of your head, know the difference between your analyzer space, which is a completely different vibration where you do a lot of your thinking, and the center of your head, which is set at sanctuary, right? So you're learning different spaces in your energy anatomy, and you're clearing of the fears and blocks, and you're learning tools to feel confident in that reading space and start to attract energy onto your screen. So every one of the classes is partly tools and techniques and then reading practice. So there's a lot going on, and it's always 2 hours. And we just keep it to those 2 hours. And you're expected to clear your energy during the week between classes. And I give you recordings for that. That are different than the recordings that we have from class. So you have extra. And then there's 4 practice classes that you can do after the 8 weeks is over. So you can continue. They're just 4 bonus classes where you're just practicing reading with a teacher. So that's fun because then it's not over when it's over. Right. And then you get a mentoring session with me, where I give you what I call an energy check when I'm going through your chakras and your skills and your tools and your techniques, and I'm boosting your progress as much as I can with some space for questions too, like, this happened to me, what does it mean? Or, anything you want to ask, or I have trouble with this, why would that be? Or,
yes.
So.
Francine's one-to-ones are very powerful. I've experienced.
Yeah. And then the other bonus is you're in a tribe. You're in a group of seers supporting each other and giving each other feedback. And sometimes we'll read each other.
Yes, and I think too, for people who already practice with clairvoyance and their intuition and use it in their healing gifts, I feel like this would really just give it the next layer up, or the next. It's like getting a vitamin B12 shot. Like you're like, whoa! Now I'm really.
Well, there's something about learning in a group. Learning to read in a group. It's super validating because the techniques keep us all tuning into the same thing at the same time in some of the readings. So you're reading, but somebody else is talking, and then they'll say something. You're like, oh my God, I just saw the same thing, or just experienced that too. And when we have the little discussion at the end, people talk about how validating it was, because they're not just sitting alone in their reading space seeing and experiencing this stuff. It's getting validated by other people. Nobody sees the same thing exactly the same. Well, sometimes they do, but very, very often people have their own perception. But it's so cool to hear somebody else's perception on the same thing. Their story about it, or their way of describing it, and then out of that comes a whole reading, you know, a huge layered amount of information about whatever you're looking at. So it's really cool to read as a group
Oh,
together.
that's so awesome. And so class starts, or our journey begins in 2 weeks. Is that right?
The 12th?
Yes,
Yeah,
October.
Saturday. Yeah.
Nice.
You know, if we had people who can't make it on a Saturday, I suppose, you know, we could get another group together, you know, in January or something. So don't feel bad if you can't join this time. But
Yeah.
I tried to put it on Saturday because I thought, you know, a lot of people work, and my evening time is your morning time for those Pacific
Right.
people.
So Francine's staying up late for us.
No. I'm just, that's not what I meant. I'm just saying, I tried to make it on the most available time, you know, best time for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Weekend time is good, you know, when you're going into the fall and the winter. This is the idea to go within and go, okay, what am I creating? How do I want to shift? You know, what are my plans for 2020? What do I want to clear so that I can bring forth these other new things that I want to do in 2020?
Yes.
So it's not just about learning to read for curiosity's sake, or it's about a different way of navigating your life, and it's a different way of creating, because it's you know, what I call conscious creativity, where you're like, well, let me read this creation that I'm working on. You know, let me ground it. Let me work and release energy from it that's not mine, or release old ideas about it, you know. So you're looking at everything is energy first, right? You were energy before you were a body.
That's the twinkle in my father's eye.
You were more than that, but anyway, you know, so your creation, whatever your creation is, your projects, the relationship that you want, the experience you want to have, it's all energy first before it becomes manifest. So why not read your creation, get a handle on it, ground it, own it, you know, transmute it into something that's super aligned with you before you bring it in.
Right,
Yeah,
before
so
January 2020.
reading is not just about reading books and wars. It's about sovereignty in conscious creating, or being the queen of your creations.
Being the queen of your creation. And what a better time to start with the Venus infused Libra lunar cycle in the season of fall, moving into winter, because nature is supporting you to go in at this time of the year. So you're in alignment with nature, alignment with the seasons, alignment with Venus, who is like, I've got your crown right here, just need to walk through the door. Then I put it on your head. And then you live your life from that place rather than living your life without the crown on your head. Or at least, you know, owning and knowing that the crown is sitting there and you can create it at the level you want.
Yeah. And the crown, boy, you just keep feeding me all these great things, Shannon.
Really?
Yeah, because the crown is also where we match other people. You know, like you're wearing your pink headband, but and you're like, I'm staying at pink. You know, I'm staying at pink here. That's my agreement. That's my intention. But sometimes we walk into a party or the supermarket or whatever, marked in, and we match somebody else's crown, and we start being their energy or their frequency, or we start feeling crappy. You know, so you know, psychic development and energy awareness is a lot about learning to unmatch. You know, so as you look into 2020, do you want to match what everyone else is going through or what's going on in the world, or do you want to set your energy yourself?
Yes.
Do you want to create from your own intention, your own frequency, or do you want to match what your neighbor's creating from? You know, which is maybe great, but it's just not your thing, you know. So think about matching, you know. Do you want to wear somebody else's crown? No, I'm kidding.
No, because
matching and unmatching. Do you want to match everything that's going on around you, or do you want to set your own frequency?
That is the most powerful question of 2019. Do you want to match everybody else's, or do you want to set your own frequency? I know what my answer is. I want to set frequency.
You go, girl. You and your headbands. Hope you have other colors too.
Just go, headbands coming out next.
I'm gonna screen print some headbands, man.
Oh my God, will you please?
You make me laugh. Oh.
So when we sign up, we can sign up. It's a 2-payment plan. Is that how you have it set?
Yes, I do. I'm still keeping the Lunar Ladies price. It's
our discounted price.
Yeah, it's $2.95 a month. People can pay the first one now, and then the next one in a month. It's not complicated.
It's not complicated, and yes,
No.
Francine is a lovely, lovely person to work with, and she can see and understand where you are. Your energy is set now, and she can see where you want to put your energy moving forward.
Yeah, and if you're not sure and you just want a reading on a quick look at, is this for me? Feel free to contact me. That's my job.
So generous that you'll do.
No, I don't want you in my class if you're not ready.
Exactly. So,
or if you're an alien and not very cooperative, I don't want you in my class either.
Right.
So of course I want to say hello.
Yeah, so we invite all of you to take advantage, have a hello with Francine.
And I don't have anything against aliens. Some of my best friends
are aliens.
Are like, what do you call it? Hybrids.
Hybrids. Flopping along in the universe.
It's just a hybrid with what that I'm picky about.
right. Just hybrids with love. Over here. So it's a
big universe, so yeah.
It's a very big, vast universe. So thank you everyone for hanging out.
Thank you.
Today. If Francine, was just anything else you'd like to add, I'm going to put the link where people can go to your website and sign up.
No, I mean, thanks for all of you who hung in there through the whole 90 minutes. I'm impressed.
Yes. We almost did. I mean, we could keep going and do what it would be like to have a 2-hour class.
I know it's hard to like wait for another couple of weeks.
I know.
I'd love to start like tomorrow.
I know. I feel like
it's just a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. So if you want to come and have fun with us and own your space, set your frequency instead of matching those around you who have no idea that they have a crown chakra. I'd rather match
or who want to ground right through you.
Right, because we're healers in this community, and people unconsciously go, a healer, boom, I give you all my stuff, and you're like, I don't like going to the grocery.
Yeah, life is overwhelming enough sometimes that not have 20 people in your space going, I love your grounding cord.
Totally. I wish I had a grounding cord.
Here's a grounding.
This is how you do it. Get away from my grounding cord.
Or flush. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, flushing.
Okay, we're getting giddy now.
We're getting silly now.
We have to get back to serious. Oh, that doesn't happen very much.
It's going to be really hard.
Well, in class we have a lot of material to get through, so I'm sure we'll.
Yes.
I think we'll manage.
And don't worry, Shannon will zip it during class because I am the student too. I can't wait. Thank you, Francine.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful Saturday.
Thank you.
And the rest of the weekend. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome, beautiful. It's been so wonderful.
Thank you.
See you soon in Circle.
Bye.
Bye.